Good afternoon. So let's start. Okay, so we'll continue from here. So I think in last class we have just started. Okay. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. Let's see. So this is continuation of the last chapter. So last chapter was chapter 10. It was class 1. Okay. So just continuation of that. So this we have seen, I think, so we can see from here. So what is polymorphism? So here it was like one operator or function can be used to different classes. So that feature is called polymorphism. Okay. So for example, length function you can apply over string, list, set, tuple. No? So they are different classes. So you can apply this function. Similarly, I gave you the example of add function, double underscore add double underscore. Now you can apply same thing, subtract. Okay. So here are next is the operator overloading. So this we have seen. So I will read it once. So for example, double underscore add double underscore this function you have seen this example. Okay. So this is like one operator. Okay. So addition is an operation. So this is like an operator. You can apply over different classes. Okay, so this you know already, polymorphism. A method or operator may be applied to object of different types or different classes. So this feature of object-oriented programming is called polymorphism. For example, length function, add operator length. So use of the same syntactic operator for objects of different classes is called operator overloading. Okay, so if you use the same syntax or same operator over different classes, that is called operator overloading. So we have seen this example double underscore eq. So it's for equality, it's for less than equal to, greater than equal to. Okay, this for overloading comparison operators. Like so, this we use for double equality, so comparison, and this is less than equal to and greater than equal to. Overload the special method double underscore add by defining an implementation of addition for the object of it. type point given example. I think this you have also done. Have you done this example? I think last class we did this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it was like we have a class point, and now we want to define how to add 2 points. So first we have to define that function. So I had that program. You have seen it. Yes, here. So okay, so this is a program and how to add 2 point. So we defined here addition for the class point. Like addition, this is already defined for the built-in classes. For example, int, string, tuple, set. This is already defined. But this point class is user-defined class. So we are defining. So we have to define the meaning of addition in this case. So we defined it. Then we are returning sum. Okay, so this we have done. Same thing is here. So here it was around, yeah. Okay, so this is correct program. So this will give you output. So this we have seen the PPT. Now here next we'll start function overloading. Okay. So what is function overloading? So function overloading provides the ability of writing different functions having same name. Okay. So you want to write different functions having same name, but with a different number of parameters, possibly of various types. So for example, you see, you may like to define two functions by the name of by the name area to compute area of circle and rectangle. So actually what you want to define a function area, so the name of the function will be same, and you want to return area of circle and area of rectangle both. So we are defining functions with the same name. Okay. So here parameter is radius, here parameter length, breadth. But actually what will happen, so just check here. This program. But the problem is, look here. So check this program. Suppose we try in this way. So we are defining a function area, parameter is radius, area of circle is pi r square. So pi we have specified here 3.14 into r, returning area of circle. Defining area, parameters are length and breadth. So area rectangle is L into B, return area rectangle this. Now when we run this, print area 6 and print area 58. So those who know already, suppose I run this program. So this is output when it was in comment. So now if I ask you, those who have idea, what will happen? Anyone would like to tell? If I run this program, what will happen? Will it give correct output? First print and second print? What do you expect? Yeah, so where to start? So think first you can try those. You have ideas, so you can think of, will it give output or error or what? Anyone can try. You can try at least. Okay, so those who have idea. Yes, Ritu Raj. So would you like to answer? If I run it, what will be the output?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to answer? So if I run this program, so what do you expect the output?
सर एरर फर्स्ट केस में एरर कर देगा सर.
फर्स्ट केस में एरर होगा, ऐसा क्यों?
सर वो पैरामीटर्स उसको मिलेंगे नहीं बिकॉज आफ्टर दैट द एरिया इज डिफाइंड सो वो ओवरराइड कर देगा.
So when you are defining two function with same area, so the recent one it considers. So when we run it, it will give you error. So first one will give error. So this thing creates error because it is so when you have same name, so it consider the recent one. Okay, let me make it comment. So now it will give you output. Okay, 1 minute. So I made comment for second. So let us make comment for the first. Okay. So now it will give you output. Check. So when we make it comment, now area with length 5, breadth width 8. So length into width, this is 5 8 ja 40. So this it will consider. So Python do what? When you have same function, same function name, so it only consider the recent one and it ignores the previous one. So that's why. Now if you, okay, if you make what we can do, and suppose let me just, so here we have now. So one minute. So what I do here, same program is here both. So let me edit this. So in this, what I do, first let us take it below. So now if we run it, so what will happen? So next, I think, yes, Himanshu, would you like to answer? Rohan, are you here? So all are absent. Okay, Arshdeep.
Yes, sir.
So if I do this, so now see, area we have defined for the rectangle first, and then we have defined area for the circle. So if I run this program, what will happen?
So I think it will give an error.
Error due to what? Which one? First print or due to second print?
So first one, because the way the area function is defined, it will not get the parameters.
So check here. It will not be like that. So first area is working. This is this. So we are getting error due to second. Why? Because I just explained it. When you have in Python, when you have two function with same name, so it consider the recent one the defined later on. So the function which you define later will be considered, and the first one will be ignored. So here later function is so recent na? So the function you define later on, this will be considered. So this we are getting here 113. So you can say pi r square, r is 6. So you will get this, and we are getting error due to this, because it do not require the first second parameter, because it considered only this. So it will area takes one position argument, but two were given. Okay, so we are getting error. But in the previous, okay, here, yes, here you can see we have defined area for the rectangle later on. So the first will be overwritten by second, so first will be ignored. So here we were getting error due to this first print. We were getting due to first print, because area function here considers two parameter. So it considers recent definition of the function area. So in this case, you can check we are getting error due to, not here, yes, here first. So here we are getting error due to first print, because when you have first parameter, so you have defined it first. So the one which you define later will be considered. So area function will consider this. Okay, so here in this program we are getting error due to this, because we have defined it first. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So now, how can we solve this problem? So suppose I want to solve this problem. I mean, we want to have only one function. Only one function means function should be area only, and we want to have, uh, we want to return both area of rectangle, area of circle. So we can do in this way. So we have the way. So let's see in PPT. So what it was saying, function overloading provides the ability to write in different functions having same name. So this is, in general we are defining function overloading, but actually Python does not support function overloading. Okay, so it does, but you have to write in a single function. You cannot define separately two functions with the same name. Otherwise, it will ignore the first one. It will only consider second one. Ignore this, it will overwrite. Okay, so like this is wrong in case of Python. Okay, so when you want to find area of circle, it will give you error. So the one which you define first will give you error, it will not work. later on will work. So how can you solve that? So for that we have, so let's see first PPT, then we'll see how to solve it. So Python does not suppose function overloading. Okay, so it does not suppose, like you cannot do this way in Python. And you have already seen examples. So it will create error due to first function. So indeed, a Python cannot distinguish between parameters based on their type, as the type of the parameter is inferred implicitly when the function is invoked with actual arguments. So actually, first it when it encounters two functions with same name, so it will not distinguish between parameters actually. Okay, so you can read this. Just theory is explained behind this program. So what is saying there? Thus, whereas invoking the function area with a single argument results in error. So they are talking about this program. Okay, this program, this one. Okay, when we define area of circle first and area of rectangle second, so it will give you error due to the first function. So single argument results in error. So invoking it with two arguments else the expected output. So you have seen, है ना? So if I write this first, so it will give you output and it will create error due to the first parameter, one parameter. Okay, check, this is giving output, okay, 40, and we are getting error due to this because we have defined area of circle first, so we'll get error due to that. So the one which we defined later on or recent will not create error. Okay, so in Python, function overloading can be achieved by indirect implementation. So now in Python, what we can do? Function overloading can be achieved by indirect implementation. So an example is shown below where if the function area is invoked with two arguments, it computes the area of the rectangle, and if with only one argument, it computes the area of circle. So now you can see here what is done here. So define area, parameters are a, b. So initially by default value of b is taken as none. And now if b is none, then you will calculate area of circle. Okay. So we have defined single function with two parameters. Now if second parameter is missing, so second parameter if you don't give, so in that case you want to calculate the area of circle with radius a. And if you give both parameter, else, so b is not none, in that case it will calculate area of rectangle and then return area of rectangle, it will work. So like here we have, so here we have this program, right? So we are defining area with parameter a and b. So b is none. Initially we have taken default value of b is none. So if b is none, then you will calculate area of circle as pi r square. So r is taken as a first parameter. Else if b is not none, so if you if you give pass a and b both value of both a and b, in that case it will calculate area of rectangle and return area. So now see, print area 6. So second parameter is not available here, so it will take by default none, so it will calculate area of circle. If you give both parameter, it will calculate area of rectangle. So in this way you can do function overloading in case of Python. Okay, and the area of circle is this, area of Python area of rectangle is this. Okay, so you all please write it. It's a small program. You may take 2-3 minutes to write it. Okay, so it's zip done. Others also please complete. It will take only 2 3 minutes. It's not difficult. Okay, so let me ask Rahul Chatterjee, Achal, Harsh Raj.
यस सर।
Have you done this? It's working.
सर 1 मिनट कर रहा हूँ।
Okay. Rahul Chakrabarti, Abhijit Sahu, Komal Priya, Abhipsa.
Yes, sir.
So done this.
Yes, sir.
It's working.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can share screen.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, fine. Thank you. So next we have. Okay, so this way indirectly we can use function overloading in case of Python. Okay, so this is the way. Now we have next topic, encapsulation, data hiding, and data abstraction. Okay, so first let's go through this theory, then we'll back to examples. So encapsulation enables us to group together related data and its associated function under one name. Okay. Okay, so what is saying? Classes provide an abstractions where initial features of the real world are presented in the form of interfaces, hiding the lower level complexities of the implementation detail. That is, so abstraction is defined here. So what is meaning of that? Representing essential features of the real world, hiding lower level details. Okay, we'll see example of this. And next is what? A technique of restricting access to private members from the outside the class is known as name mangling. So actually what happens, like you don't want, suppose we have the program. So I will work in ideally better. So see, like we have a first example we had in the last chapter. Okay, in the class we had person class. So if I open it, so what do you want? Like you are writing the program, so you have seen that this class can be imported to the other program and it can access the variable like name, date of birth, and address can be accessed. But you don't want that anything outside this program can be accessed. So you want to restrict the access. Even if it is imported, you don't want it to be accessed outside this program. So what you can do that? So for that, like here, if I run, suppose I run it. So 1 minute for that. So we have person P1. Okay, this, yeah. So printing P1, then removing name. So actually we don't want all this. So output we are getting name ABC, date of birth this. So here if I write P1 dot name, so it will give you name like ABC. Okay, if I write P1 dot, so we are accessing outside the program. Here, we are accessing in the cell. So, but so we want to restrict here. So we want to restrict the program and we want such that it could not access outside the program. So like if I write dot dob, so it will print the date of birth. And if I write p1 dot address, okay, so like it's this, but you don't want it to access. So what you can do, you can restrict it by doing that. So one thing you can do like self dot name. So you just put it double underscore here, self dot double underscore name. Everywhere you have defined like uh, self dot name is name. And here what you do, so where self dot is, you just take it double underscore there and just here only when you are associating the object with the name. So I want to restrict the use of name outside the program. So I'm doing for that. So here also you can write. Okay, first let me run it, working or not. Okay, so you are getting output here, ABC, name, date of birth this, and address this. So what changes I made? Anywhere it was defined self dot name is equal to name. So I changed the self dot that name I changed to double underscore name. So when we run it, we get this output. But now if I write p1 dot name, so it cannot access. Even you cannot access here. So if you have imported this class person to any other program, there it will also be not accessed. Okay, so we are restricting the
सर
very, yes.
P1 डॉट डबल अंडरस्कोर नेम करिए तो
Okay, p1 dot double underscore name, still you cannot access. Okay, so it cannot be accessed outside the program. Only in this program it can be accessed. You cannot access outside. So even if you import, also it cannot be accessed. So we are restricting. Okay. So that they want to make you understand here in the PPT. So that name mangling and restricting the use. Okay. And also there are some other way also. So this is one of the way. Okay. So the restrictions on the use of the private variable from outside the scope of the class may be bypassed using the syntax like instance self dot. So it has used single underscore. Yeah,
सर
yes, yes.
सर एक बार आपका वाला प्रोग्राम में जो जहाँ रिटर्न करा रहे हैं सर गेट नेम वहाँ वो तो कॉल हो जाएगा ना p1 डॉट गेट नेम
ओके हाँ हाँ
फंक्शन सर
हाँ इसमें
सर वो अगर कॉल करने से तो वो तो कॉल हो जाएगा ना
उसको करके देखते हैं, बताओ क्या करना चाहते हो तुम।
सर जैसे जो ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करेंगे आप उसके बाद ये पर्सन डॉट गेट नेम और जो पूरा पर्सन है वहाँ पे
हाँ हाँ पर्सन डॉट गेट नेम मैं लिख देता हूँ P1 डॉट गेट नेम। हाँ
यस सर सर ये तो रन कर जाएगा ना
ओके लेट मी प्रिंट इट। जहाँ वर्क करेगा वहाँ मैं चेक करता हूँ बाहर। सो
ये सर बाहर ही में पूछ रहे थे
3 पे 1 मिनट, ये तो यहाँ करेगा। So it is working, and if I here I write P1 dot get name this।
सर यहाँ पे p1 रिकॉग्नाइज कैसे करेगा वो तो पर्सन से
करेगा
इनिशियलाइज ही नहीं
क्योंकि वो
किया ना
सेम प्रोग्राम का कंटिन्यूएशन है ना, इसलिए यहाँ पे
यस
करेगा।
यस सर सर सिर्फ एट्रीब्यूट्स पे रेस्ट्रिक्शन है लाइक मेथड कॉल में कोई रेस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं होगा इसका प्राइवेट एक्सेस होने से भी
अगर मैं यहाँ पे हटा देता तो प्रॉब्लम हुआ ना।
हाँ यस सर आई गेस सो वेरिएबल डिक्लेरेशन
ओके सो इट इज सेइंग देयर आई हैव नॉट। हाँ यहाँ पे मैंने बता दिया डबल स्कोर, सो आई हैव टू मेक इट। हाँ सो दिस वे यू कैन डू। ओके so this is they want to make you understand this। so directly you cannot access by this है ना P1 dot name।
सर उस फंक्शन को भी हम प्राइवेट बना सकते हैं डबल स्कोर करके अंदर।
ट्राई कर सकते हैं। So what do you want to make change here? I think Himanshu was asking। हाँ
सर वो गेट नेम के पहले डबल अंडरस्कोर कर दीजिए।
ठीक है। So if I run it, grid access, so it will give you the output due to that return thing है ना, but when we access, so अब तुम वैसे भी एक्सेस नहीं कर पाओगे। ओके एंड देन oh sorry, हाँ you can try this way also। okay so
सर वो यहाँ पे आप चेंज कर दीजिए।
कहाँ पे?
P1 डॉट लास्ट जो प्रिंट किया ना
यहाँ
ये
पे?
फंक्शन पे। यस सर।
Still getting problem, है ना?
जैसे सर वो प्राइवेट हो गया फंक्शन के नाम।
सिर्फ प्राइवेट हो गया, लेकिन यहाँ पे तो कॉल नहीं हुआ।
हाँ, यहाँ पे है ना गेट नेम।
सर आप कॉल थोड़ी होगा, वो तो क्लास से बाहर आ गया ना, तो प्राइवेट है तो आप कॉल नहीं करेगा।
बट यहाँ पे जो बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं इसमें, है ना, इसमें जस्ट दे वांट टू मेक वेरिएबल, है ना, प्राइवेट। ओके, सो हियर दे वर ट्राइंग टू मेक वेरिएबल प्राइवेट। तो इस बुक में मेनली वेरिएबल की बात किया है ना, सो यू कैन ट्राई टू restrict that function also, but how will you make this private? This is a way you can do. Okay, next क्या बताना चाह रहा है? Modifier and accessor. Okay, so the method in the class definition that modify the value of one or more arguments are known as modifier. So this you know already. अगर मैं सेम प्रोग्राम की बात करूँ, so in that program, चलो इसको, so the function this, like get name, get date of birth, get address, these are accessor, right? And the set name, set date of birth, and set address are modifier, right? So like using get name you can access the variable, that is saying, and a modifier and accessor. A modifier, like this set name is the modifier, so you can change the name. So if you want to change like p1 dot, है ना, name, and you can change the name, like I was trying, like you can write xyz something. Currently we have name abc. Okay, so we can change it to xyz. Then you may print p1. Okay, so initially name was abc, date of birth and address. Now name is xyz, this and this. So here the function like get name, get dob, and get address, these are accessor, and the set name, set dob, and set address, these are the modifier. So this can modify the name, address, and date of birth. Now what we have? Static method. So an instance method typically defines operations on data members of an instance of a class. Okay, so what is saying? So instance is object. Okay, so when you define some function on objects, so what you do? Defines operation on the data members of an instance of a class. So in static method, what do you do? Static methods are used for modifying class data members and do not require to passing objects as the first parameter. So like you can see here, in these programs, everywhere we have taken self as a one parameter, right? In get name, they get dob, get address, set name, set dob, and set address. But in static method, what they say that we do not require to passing object as a first parameter. So in a static method, so to tell python that a method is static, a static method, what do you do? The function this decorator at the rate static method. So you will write this, then python will understand that this method you are going to define is static method, precedes the method definition. So before defining that function or that method, you specify this, so python will understand that you are defining static method, so that do not require to passing object as the first parameter. So I have one example of that. uh, Okay, so this example you can see. uh, so what we have done, this is a class person count is 0, then we have initiated that object with these variables. Okay, and now we are defining that function. Okay, which function? So defining this person count. So in incrementing person count, right? So the mean, we have defined the function incrementing person count. So person dot person count gets increased by 1. Okay, and so here this we have specified to say that we are defining a function that is static method, and that do not require, so here we have not taken self. Okay, so that is static method, and here we have defined other function get person count, and we are returning person dot person count. So if I run it, you're getting 2. Suppose if I define the third object, suppose, okay, anything can write. So now if I run it, what will happen? Here we have to change the name P3. So we have initiated, so we have taken 3 objects. Okay, person, so it will print 3. Yes, 3. So we have defined 3 object of the class. So in the person class, what we have done, so this function is static method, and method is like a function. Okay, so you may write this program and check if it's working or not. So you can see here we are accessing this function without using self as a parameter. That is the meaning of static method. Okay. So you please write this program and check it's working or not. Okay, so the method that uses first argument as self, that are called instance method. Okay, and the method which do not require to use self as the object, that is static method. So actually the function this increment person count is invoked with the class person in this way. Okay. So they have not given program here. Okay.
So can you show the program?
Yes, is it visible now?
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, yes. So if they ask you what is the difference between a static method and instance method, so instance method required to take the first parameter as self, and static method do not require. So are you typing all? Okay, Abhishek, have you done this? Suman,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, done.
is it working?
The work, yes, sir, working.
Okay. Yes, Abhishek, what about you?
Sir, I have a system update in a computer, so sorry, sir.
Okay, okay. Okay, Suman, so you can share program.
Okay, sir. So,
Hmm. Okay, so it is working. You run this program. Okay, yeah, fine. So you are getting okay. Yeah, thank you. So what we have done here, we have defined a class person, okay, and then object self with variable name, date of birth, address, and we are taking this increment percentage count. Okay, so we are associating with the class person as attribute, right? So so that method is invoked as an attribute of the class person. Then here we are defining that function increment person count, and we have not taken that self as a first parameter. That's why it is static method. Okay, and it will work. So you have seen. Next we have, so this is static method. Next we have adding methods dynamically. So Python allows us to add methods dynamically to a class using the syntax class name. So for example, we have person, and in person actually variables we have like name, date of birth, and address. Suppose we want to add some more, so suppose we want to add name, address, you may add something, suppose it's a student, then you can add percentage marks. Okay, so person dot percentage is equal to percentage, so in that way you can add percentage. You may define new function, yeah, function methods. So you will actually add function to a method. So if we were to associate a method with a particular instance of a class, okay, so if we were to associate a method with a particular instance of a class, we need to import the function method type. So method type is a function, okay, from the module. So module we have types. So this is the other way, okay, one way is this, other way is this. So when you want to associate a method with a particular instance matlab like object. So object we have like in this class we have object p1, p2, p3. So we want to associate a method with particular instance, suppose p1 of a class. So we need to import the functions. There is a function method type from the module types, and subsequently we use the following syntax to add a method to an instance of the class. So instance like p1 dot which method you want to add, like suppose percentage. So p1 dot percentage is equal to method type, then percentage comma p1. So this you can do. So you can see one example based on this. Okay, so check here. So what we are doing, we have defined a class a student, maximum marks is 500. We have initiated an object self with variable name, roll number, marks, and then we have defined a function percentage corresponding to that object self, and percentage is float self dot marks, so marks of the student. okay, upon total marks. So student dot max marks, you can see here we have written student dot, because here in class max marks is a class variable. So class variable because we have defined inside that class, so we can call it like this, student dot max marks. Okay, and here we are these are the these variables are object instance variable or object variable, name, roll number, marks. So we call it like self dot name, self dot roll number. Okay, so like here we have defined self dot marks. So marks is a instance variable or object variable, and here max marks we have defined inside the class as student, so it is the class variable, and into 100, and we are returning percentage, and the result self. Okay, so result self, it will return pass if self dot percentage, so that self dot percentage this, okay, this percent, it will return percent. So this percent is more than equal to 40, else it will return fail. Now s1 is one object है ना. So class student variables were name, roll number, marks, and we want to find percentage. Okay, we want to find percentage corresponding to that object. Okay, so this particular object instance, so s1 dot percentage, so we are calling this function here. So method percentage can be invoked like this, and we are printing s1 dot result. So when you run it, so here like maximum marks were, maximum marks is 500, so you will find the percentage like it's a 20% fail. I think we have, okay, same, so let me change it. So let's make it 390. Okay, so here you can see marks are 78% and result is pass. Here the marks is 20% because this student has roll number 47, marks is 100. So percentage is 20% and result is fail. Here percentage is 70%, result is pass. This is working. Okay, so what we are doing here, so actually we have defined a class student and having constructor that INIT, and we have defined a function percentage and result. Okay, so you may write here percentage student dot percentage equal to percentage is equal to percentage, that may be called, or the other way we had one more way na? Type like we may write that way. So what they have suggested, p1, so this p1 s1, so s1 dot percentage is equal to method type percentage comma s1. So this way you can associate and then you can print s1 dot percentage or s1 dot result. So this is also one of the way. Okay, we are associating that percentage with that object class. So this is fine. So this you know already, like we were doing s1 dot get name s1, and that we were doing. Still actually, sorry, it's a student now. Class is a student here. So, but here it is already, we have defined S1 as taking class name, and then these are variables. So that is associated there. That's why not required. So okay, this is fine. So you can write it. Okay, so what we have done here, we have defined a class of student. We ask name, roll number, marks, and we are calculating percentage and result of the student using class. So these programs are not in the PPT. So I have already shared PPT, but these are not there. So you can see in the book, or you can write it now, so that you will understand. Yes, Ayush Agarwal, have you done this? Abhisman, Sarmila,
Yes, sir.
so are you doing or have you done?
So done.
It's working?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can share. Okay, so I'm done. Okay, you are getting out. Yeah. Thank you, Sarmila. Fine. So others can also do. Those who are remaining, please do it. So we were calculating percentage marks and checking result whether pass or fail using class. Class name of the class we have taken a student. Okay. So we were adding that function. Okay, method percentage to the class student. We have added that the program what we have done. So here we have just added that class function percentage with the class student class, and that result to the student class here. Next is composition. So composition, you know already, and in the beginning we have done this. So in like in mathematics, you know the composition. What happens when one function operate over other function? So that is called composition. So here also, when one class uses the variables of the other class, or when you import one class into other class, so that is the composition. So we have done it. So like the process of using objects of the other classes as attribute value is called composition. So like we have seen now, see. So we were doing what? For example, so suppose the class I open like yes, in person class. If I suppose in that only, if I change it here, if I write here, like we have defined one more. So in chapter 10, right, class 1, we had two classes we have defined. One class was person and other is my. So my date. So if I write my date and there it was 1, suppose 2, and it is 2001, suppose. Okay. So in this way I write. So if I run it now, it will give what? So what do you expect? If I ask you, so first you see the
Error.
program error, right? So actually we are using that my date class. So we have not explained what is this. So Python will not understand. It will create error. So let me run it. So it will give you error because name my date is not defined. So this program is actually called composition. So composition is one class is person, and inside that class we are using the other class my date. Okay, this is composition of the classes. So for that actually, how can I make it correct? So this is giving error. So how can we sort this error? So who will tell? Okay, I will ask. So because this we have done in last chapter also, this in the beginning of this chapter also. So Prerna, Suwani, Neelam, so Anirban, Pranjal, Ruchi, Rahul, Pritish, Elisa, Sachin, Prayag, Ramakant.
Yes, sir.
So you tell me like in the class person we are using this class. So how can we import this class? Do you know how can we import? Because it is giving error. So we want it should not give error. So this is composition of the classes. So how should we tell this program that we are importing my date? So how can you import? So how do you import one class into other class? Do you know? Actually, this program I have saved in on desktop. Is it? No. This is in the same. So it's so they're on different location. So my date was the program. Na? Okay. But we have to import. Na? So how will we import? Yes, Ramakant. Do you have idea? In the class person, we are using the other class. So how can we explain it? Na? You should understand na, what is this. So like when we run it, it is saying my date is not defined. So how can you define my date in this program? How can we define?
सर इनहेरिटेंस होगा शायद.
नहीं, इनहेरिटेंस तो आगे है। हमें ये हमने पहले भी किया है, लाइक ये हमने लास्ट चैप्टर में भी किया था। उसमें देखो लास्ट चैप्टर में क्या था, 3-4 तो कॉन्सेप्ट थे, क्लास क्या है, फिर उसमें था कि है ना, एक पर्सन क्लास डिफाइन किया था, फिर था कि हाउ विल यू इम्पोर्ट वन क्लास इनटू अदर क्लास, है ना, वहाँ फिर क्या था, और यही था एक कि एब्स्ट्रैक्ट, एंड अदर था फिर दूसरा हमारे पास था कि लाइक माई डेट क्लास, तो यही सिर्फ चीज़ें थी, तो वहाँ हमने इम्पोर्ट करना सीखा था। नेक्स्ट बताओ, यस पटनायक।
यस सर।
सो हाउ कैन वी, लाइक वी आर यूजिंग माई डेट, सो कैसे हम एक क्लास को दूसरे क्लास में कैसे इम्पोर्ट करते हैं?
याद नहीं आ रहा सर।
याद नहीं आ रहा है, ओके। अनिकेत कुमार, अमलान ज्योति, हिमांशु,
यस सर।
क्या नाम है हिमांशु, कौन बोल रहा है अभी?
यस सर हिमांशु।
हाँ हिमांशु बताओ, इसको कैसे इंपोर्ट करेंगे?
सर फ्रॉम उस फाइल का नाम है import my date।
हाँ, तो फ्रॉम जो मैंने सेव किया हुआ है वो माई डेट है, एंड इम्पोर्ट जो हमारा क्लास है माई डेट, है ना, तो ये काम करेगा क्योंकि लोकेशन सेम है। सो लाइक हेयर, फाइन, दिस इज करेक्ट। सो लाइक द प्रोग्राम आई हैव ओपनड इज पर्सन and importing is my date, both are at the same location, so you don't need to write that import sys and all. But if both are at different location, then you have to write it, okay? So when you want to import one class into other class, so you have to write this from my date. My date is the name of the program, and this is the class we are importing. So if we run it, so now it will not give you error, okay? So check, it is giving you output. So name abc, date of birth and address, then we have updated name, and then same thing. So here we have updated name, and then we are printing. So this way you can, if you have files at different locations, then you have to write that thing. So there is like import sys, that was the thing. When you have at different location, then import sys, and it was the way like sys dot path, so you will give the path in a location, append, and there you can write the location of the this program my date. Okay, so location of this. So here actually we have, so location we can see both are the same location, that's why I'm writing this. So both will have the same location, my date and person class, so you can write this also. So this is not necessary here because both are at same location, but if they are at different locations, then it is necessary to write. It is not required, but still if you write, it will work still, no problem. Okay, so this is the composition. So this is nothing but this is the composition which you know already. This is a composition. When you use one class into other class, that is composition of class, or object composition you can say. When you call the object, like there you can call variables of that class also. Now it is inheritance. So what is inheritance? So the definition is inheritance is an important feature of the object-oriented programming that imparts the ability of a class to inherit properties and behavior of the other class. That is also related. Okay. So in inheritance, what we do actually, we impart the ability to a class, or that is to inherit properties and behavior of the other class. So you can do that. And class which inherits properties is called the derived class. So see, here we were not like writing program in such a way that one class inside other class. Here now inheritance what will happen? So you will take one as derived, other as base class or parent class. So first we'll see this property, then we'll see the program. So class which inherits properties is called derived class or subclass or child class. And the class from which properties are inherited is called base class or superclass or parent class. Okay. So the class which inherits the properties of the other class, that is called derived class. And the class from which properties are inherited, that is called base class or parent class. Okay. So object class is the base class of all class. The result. And next we're saying what one example you have. So that is person is a base class of employee. So this program you have not seen, right? So you have to write that program. Person is a base class of employee. So employee is one class. I will define. And the notion of inheritance allow us to express the parent-child relationship among the classes as shown figure. So shown in figure this. So see, in an organization, what happens? Every employee is a person. Okay, every employee is a person. So employee class will be actually derived class or child class or subclass, and person class will be parent class, or you say base class, or you can say super class. But every person may not be employee. No, person may be the owner. Okay, so in an organization every person may not be employee. Okay, so that may be owner, but every employee is a person. So the way we are defining, so employee is a child class, or you say subclass. Okay, or the derived class, we'll use the word derived class. And person class will be super class, or you say parent class or base class, so we'll use the word base class. Okay, so first I will show you this program. And these are all example of composition. So I was just using my date here. So composition. Yeah, so this is the program employee class. See here, so look carefully, class, employee, and then person we are writing. So this is the derived class and this is the base class. So actually employee class will use all the variable of the person class. And so first let us understand this program. Okay, this is a look we are, so here it is, since employee class and person class, I have saved the both program in the, so I have this an id area also. So we have employee class. So first let me first open it. So here we have, so here just it is not required to say the location because both have the same location. Okay, so now from my date we are using importing my date, and from person class we are a person, this name of the program, and we are importing the class person. And we have defined the class employee as a derived class of the person class. So here person class will be parent class, or you can say base class, or it is the super class. Okay, and this is a subclass. Employee is a subclass. So next id we have assigned is 1001. Employee count initially it is 0. We are initiating object self. This is the constructor of the object self, with variables name, date of birth, address, basic salary, date of joining. Okay, if you remember, name, date of birth, and address, these were the variable in the class person. Okay, and but in the employee class we are defining the more variables. Okay, so object of the class employee will have variable name, date of birth, address, basic salary, and date of joining. Okay, and now what we are doing, we will import, or we will use the same variables. We don't need to assign all these to employee. So what we are doing, person is the class name, parent class name, or you say it's a base class, dot init, self, name, date of birth, address. So we are just using these variables from the person class into here employee class. Now next we are associating that object to variable self dot id number. So that will be employee dot next id. So you can see here, this is the class name employee and dot next id. So we have written because next id is the class variable. Okay, not object variable, instance variable. Instance variable are this. So where we associate with the instance or object, but here this is class variable. So that's why we are writing here employee dot next id. So that is associated with self dot id name, id number. So one variable we missed, or what? Self get id number. Okay, it will work still. So self dot id number, this self dot basic salary is basic salary, and self dot date of joining, and employee dot next id is equal to +1. So whenever you will take next instance of the class employee, so it will increase the id by 1, and when you take next employee, so employee count will be increased by 1. Okay, so id and employee count will be increased by 1 whenever you find new employee. These are the function you already know. Get id dot self, so self dot id number. So these are the accessor of the program. So get salary, so it will, you can access using this function salary. So self dot basic salary, defining revised salary, so self and then new salary. So this revised salary, and this is the actually modifier. Okay, so this can modify the salary of an employee. Self dot basic salary, and whatever you will assign here, it will be a new salary. Then define get joining date self, this is again accessor, so you can access date of joining using this function. Def string self, so string we will get the output as a string, so output will be like person dot str self. So this, if you remember, we have defined inside class for function, so that we are importing here. So that thing we are importing. So if you remember there, so this were containing like name self dot name, dob self dot dob, and address self dot address, so that this will contain all this. And next we are importing the string self dot get id, so id we are printing string form of self dot get salary, so salary of the employee, and then is the date of joining. Okay, so we are getting date of joining and string self dot date of joining. Okay, now we are defining lt, so lt was less than. Okay, so what we are checking, so self and other, these are the two object of the class employee. So we are checking self dot get id is less than the other. So like when you have two instance, sorry, two employee or two instances, so you will check whether id will be first will less than the other, so you are just increasing the id. Yeah, so self to id number of this. Okay, so yeah. Then if you need to delete any object of the class, so you can delete using this is the destructor of the program, destructor of the object. So person dot, so we are importing that thing here also. And employee dot employee count will decrease by 1 whenever you will delete any employee, so that employee count will be decreased by 1. So here like we have person 3. Okay, so first of all, since we have imported person and my date, so in person if you have any object, that will be called here. So p3 is defined here. Okay, aman my date, so p3 is person. Okay, my date this print p3, so that is not required, you may delete. Okay, so just come here, employee, so we are defining employee 1, this is instance or object of the class employee. So name rahman, my date, so the variable it has name, date of birth, address, basic salary, date of joining. Okay, so name, date of birth, place, the address, basic salary, date of joining. Okay, and we are printing employee 1, print employee dot employee count, so we are counting the employee, and deleting employee 1, then we are counting the employee count. Okay, so if we run it, so these things are coming because of this is already present in the class person, so you may remove that. Okay, from there, so that is being returned here. So in the class person, so this we have now person p1 and all, so you may remove. Okay, so now if I run it, so check, this is only printing name, date of birth, address, ID number, salary, date of joining. Okay, one is the person dot employee dot count, employee count. So initially one, and after we deleted employee, this is, so you may define the other one also. Suppose I change the name. Okay, so suppose this is PQR. Okay, and you may write it to one. Okay, so what do we write? And if we print, okay, and so employee 2 is not defined, deleting an employee 1 minute. So what is done wrong here?
सर दोनों सेम नेम हो गया है.
हाँ, so okay, fine. Okay, so name, date of birth, address, ID, and this, and you can check ID is already getting incremented. Right? Whenever you define a new class, so ID and the person employee count will already, it will be increased because we have defined in such a way. And the salary is 2. So 2 is the initially the employee count, and after deleting employee 1, this is the employee count. So this is 1 later on. This is the 1. Okay. So this is the so this program is what like we have employee as a derived class and person as a base class. Okay. So we have imported that variables from that. Okay. So here we didn't use like self dot name is equal to name, self dot dob is equal to dob, self dot address, that we have imported from there, from that program. Okay, so it's a long program, you can write it. So for that I can do what, I can give you in chat, so you just check it was working or not, and then you can write it later on. No? अच्छा ये पूरा प्रोग्राम आया नहीं होगा, सो एक बार में पेस्ट करने की लिमिटेशन है, सो दैट्स व्हाई दिस इज नॉट फाइन. सो मैं दोबारा भेजता हूँ, ठीक है ना. ये थोड़ा पंगा है क्योंकि ये पूरा प्रोग्राम बीच का कुछ लाइन मिसिंग होगा बिकॉज ऑफ लिमिटेशंस. ओके, अच्छा तुम्हारे पास ये प्रोग्राम होना चाहिए, माई डेट एंड पर्सन, देन यू कैन रन दिस प्रोग्राम, अदरवाइज है ना. सो माई डेट मैंने यहाँ यूज़ किया है. ओके, सो दैट्स वाई यू शुड हैव दिस प्रोग्राम, एंड पर्सन वी हैव यूज्ड हियर एज अ.
यस सर.
सो यू शुड हैव दैट. चलो थोड़ा थोड़ा मैं स्टार्टिंग से भेजता हूँ, तुम लोग अभी कॉपी पेस्ट ऑफ करना एंड चेक करो वर्क करा नहीं कर रहा. सो नाउ आई एम सेंडिंग. So from here I'm doing.
सर पेस्ट बिन यूज कर लीजिए ना.
कौन सा?
पेस्ट बिन.
ओके, अरे ठीक है, ऐसे ही कर लो, टाइम भी खत्म हो रहा है, देखेंगे नेक्स्ट टाइम। So you should understand each line of the program and then you execute it and check it's working or not. ओके तब तक मैं अटेंडेंस ले लेता हूँ, तुम लोग इसको ठीक करो। सो आफ्टर डूइंग कॉपी पेस्ट यू मे नीड टू मॉडिफाई दैट। सो यहाँ पे जो न्यू लिखा है उसके बाद करना, 247 पे है ना, उसके बाद। सेम थिंग यही है शायद, सेम थिंग से क्या। ओके सो अटेंडेंस जो रह गया जो लोग, सो हिमांशु इज प्रेजेंट, हंसराज, हंसराज
प्रेजेंट सर।
अयाज बेग, अपूर्व
प्रेजेंट सर।
करीना,
Present, sir.
पुष्कल,
प्रेजेंट सर।
हर्ष, हर्ष सिन्हा,
प्रेजेंट सर।
अंकिता,
Present, sir.
रोहित नारायण,
यस सर।
और स्टार्टिंग में कुछ लोग रहते क्योंकि आज मैं बीच से स्टार्ट किया था। एक मिनट
सर मनीष राज
हाँ,
प्रेजेंट।
1 मिनट एलेक्जेंडर,
प्रेजेंट सर।
साहिल, साहिल गुप्ता,
प्रेजेंट सर।
श्रेया सिन्हा,
Present, sir.
अनुजा,
Present, sir.
उज्जवल,
प्रेजेंट सर।
अनस,
Yes.
संग्राम,
प्रेजेंट सर।
संजीवनी,
Anas present, sir.
हाँ अनस प्रेजेंट हो गया, संजीवनी,
Present, sir. Present, sir.
हाँ पुष्पांजलि,
Present, sir.
अनिल कुमार,
प्रेजेंट सर।
मनीष, मनीष राज,
प्रेजेंट सर।
मयंक,
प्रेजेंट सर।
शिवम, शिवम तो प्रेजेंट था ना। ओके 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 उसके बाद साहिल अग्रवाल,
प्रेजेंट सर।
हाँ बाकी जो लोग रिस्पॉन्ड किए जिनका नाम मैंने बीच में लिया होगा वो ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट है, लाइक तो मैं अब ये बता देता हूँ कौन कौन एब्सेंट है क्योंकि अटेंडेंस ऐसे हो गया है। सो बीच में जिनका नाम
सर
हाँ
मेरा नाम नहीं बुलाया सर।
क्या नाम है?
अभिजीत।
अभिजीत, तो बीच में बोला होगा जब तुम रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं किए होगे।
सर अनिर्बान लाहन सर।
सर वो एक 5 मिनट के लिए उठा था दवाई लेने के लिए, उसी टाइम शायद बुलाया था सर।
ओके अच्छा
सर अनिर्बान लाहन सर।
अच्छा ठीक है, जो जो एब्सेंट लोग हैं उनका नाम बोल देता हूँ, बता देना। तो अभी एब्सेंट वालों का
हाँ
नाम बताऊँ, जो होगा बताना। अयाज
ठीक
बेग,
है सर।
अमलान ज्योति,
प्रेजेंट सर।
अनिकेत कुमार,
प्रेजेंट सर।
प्रयाग दत्त, सचिन,
प्रेजेंट सर।
एलिसा,
Present, sir.
प्रीतीश, राहुल,
यस सर।
रुचि, प्रांजल, अनिर्बन,
प्रेजेंट सर।
नीलम,
Present, sir.
सुवानी,
Present, sir.
प्रेरणा, प्रेरणा है नहीं है?
Yes, sir. Present, sir.
7073.
ओके, शर्मिला प्रेजेंट है?
हेलो।
म्यूट कर लो जो भी है। अविस्मान? इसका unmuted है। रुचि, आई थिंक यू आर। ओके, सो ठीक है, शर्मिला प्रेजेंट ऑलरेडी। अभिस्मान, आयुष अगर?
सर रुचि सिंह प्रेजेंट।
हाँ हाँ, रुचि सिंह प्रेजेंट। अभिस्मान?
Sir, Prerna present.
प्रेरणा प्रेजेंट, ठीक है। तुम्हें पहले पूछा, जिसका नाम नहीं बोल रहा हूँ वो ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट है, जिसका मैं अभी नाम बोल रहा हूँ वो एब्सेंट है। तो उस जो है वो बता देंगे, लाइक अगर मैं जिसका नाम नहीं लेता हूँ सो यू आर ऑलरेडी प्रेजेंट। सो मैं क्लास में अगर बीच में नाम लेता हूँ तुम्हारा, तुम अगर बोलते हो तो प्रेजेंट उस टाइम ही लग जाता है। हाँ, सो राहुल चक्रवर्ती, अभिजीत साहू,
यस सर।
कोमल प्रिया, ओके, रोहन वर्मा,
प्रेजेंट सर।
राहुल चटर्जी,
यस सर।
आंचल नायक,
Present, sir.
ओके। तो बाकी जिसका नाम मिला वो प्रेजेंट है। मैं फिर से एक बार बता देता हूँ, जो जो एब्सेंट है बस उसका नाम बता देता हूँ। अभी भी अयाज बेग एब्सेंट है, प्रीतीश कुमार, प्रांजल, अभिस्मान, आयुष अग्रवाल, राहुल चक्रवर्ती। यस, हु इज दिस?
अभिष्मान सर।
यू आर प्रेजेंट, ओके। सो एब्सेंट वालों का नाम बोल रहा हूँ, आयुष अग्रवाल, राहुल चक्रवर्ती, एंड देन नो वन। ओके, तो बाकी जो लोग हैं वो प्रेजेंट है। ओके, सो जस्ट डू इट, चेक इट्स वर्किंग और नॉट। सो मैंने लिखा है वहाँ पे चैट में, जस्ट यू चेक।
Yes, sir. Working, sir.
सो जिन लोगों का वर्क कर रहा है यू कैन राइट इन चैट। अभी टाइम है 5 मिनट, सो यू जस्ट राइट दैट प्रोग्राम, सो इट इज ऑलरेडी इन चैट। So that we were doing inheritance. Okay, so we were implementing this person employee class. Okay, so type of inheritance will start in next class. Okay, so I was just showing you this program. So employee as a derived class, person as a base class. ओके, सो जो लोग बाद में आए मैं उनसे पूछता हूँ क्या तुम्हारे प्रोग्राम वर्क कर रहा है, जो लोग अभी सो के उठे थे। ओके, जैसे कहाँ से स्टार्ट करें? हाँ जी रुचि, हैव यू डन दिस प्रोग्राम, दिस वन जो स्क्रीन पे दिख रहा होगा तुम्हें? एब्सेंट। नीलम?
सर डूइंग।
ओके, करो इस चैट में, कॉपी पेस्ट करो उसको, और मेक श्योर यू हैव दिस टू प्रोग्राम फर्स्ट, माई डेट एंड पर्सन, अदरवाइज इट विल नॉट वर्क। इट विल वर्क इफ यू हैव दिस टू प्रोग्राम एंड सेव एट द सेम लोकेशन ऑल 3 प्रोग्राम। सो कौन और? हाँ जी सुवानी। प्रेरणा, ये सब अटेंडेंस के लिए आते हैं खाली। प्रेरणा,
Yes, sir.
ये हुआ तो बना तुम्हारा ये वाला?
Sir बना रही है।
ओके, ओके, जिन लोगों का हुआ है वही शेयर करो, बाकी लोग कर देना, आज ही कर लेना। किसका? ऋतुराज का हुआ है। ओके, यू कैन शेयर।
यस सर।
Okay, so you have saved with name class 1, class 2 and ओके ठीक है, स्क्रॉल करो नीचे। So it's fine, है ना? So it's working, right? So others can also do. Yeah, thank you, Riduraj.
Yes sir, thank you sir.
Okay, so that's all for today. In the next class, we'll start from here, type of inheritance. So this was just an example. What is inheritance and how can you inherit the properties of the parent class into the derived class? Okay. Thank you. We'll meet in next class. Thank you.
Thank you sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.